Carolina Insider is presented by Wells Fargo, official sponsor of Carolina Athletics, and brought to you by Coca-Cola. When you're stocking up for game day, be sure to grab a Coke with a friend. Together, tastes better. Carolina Ford. Ford, built for victory. Built for the Carolinas. Contact your Carolina Ford dealer today. And by Hardison and Cochran, attorneys at law, 919 All Fours.
Hello again and welcome to the Carolina Insider. My name is Jones Angel. So glad you could join us. Of course, we wish we were talking about a football game with you on today's show, but it just did not work out that way for the Tar Heels. As we know, last weekend had the game canceled versus Charlotte. The hope was that Carolina would be able to schedule another opponent for this weekend, but just did not happen that way. So the Heels have been on an extended bye week period here over the last few weeks. But that doesn't mean that we don't have some great stuff for you today on the show. Adam Lucas and I were able to catch up with former Tar Heel national champion Marvin Williams. Marvin just retired from the NBA after 15 seasons and a good run with the Bucks to the Eastern Conference semifinals this year. So you'll see that conversation with Marvin. We'll go through our social drive as well. But first, I'm going to be joined by Adam Lucas, and we'll talk about some of the current events around Carolina athletics. Football not the only sport that is ongoing at Carolina. In fact, Adam, most of the fall sports now up and running and have been successful so far. That includes Carolina field hockey, of course, back-to-back undefeated national champions in the field hockey squad, starting its season with a win. Now 47 consecutive victories for Karen Shelton's team, and a couple of individuals were honored this week, and a pretty neat statement as well by Tar Heel superstar Erin Matson.
I thought this was neat. It's from Erin Matson's Instagram story, which we all follow religiously because she's been on the pod. And a little harken back to Michael Jordan here with the "We're Back." And then the 46-0, which at the time was the number of consecutive wins for Carolina field hockey. It's now 47-0, as Jones said.
Let's turn the page to women's soccer, and a great start for Anson Dorrance, who joined us last week here on the show. His squad starts the year 2-0 with wins over Wake Forest and Virginia Tech. The women's soccer team now ranked number 1 in the nation as well. So field hockey and women's soccer both ranked number 1. And Adam, some individual awards as well for the women's soccer squad.
And not surprisingly, the first individual award goes to Rachel Jones, who was the top drawer player of the week. She had 2 goals against Wake Forest. If you follow Carolina women's soccer social media, which they do a really good job with, you get a really good feel for that team, and you also get a good feel for how much her teammates really like and respect Rachel Jones.
Next up for the women's soccer program, Sunday in Durham against Duke. Let's go from women's soccer to men's soccer. The guys have not played an official match yet, but were victorious in an exhibition game. Tar Heels defeating NC State 1-0 in the exhibition this past week. Their schedule begins at Duke as well over in Durham on October the 2nd. Things starting to get going again. Let's hope that we can keep this consistent as we move.
Carolina Insider is presented by Wells Fargo.
Gosh, can it really be 15 years ago that Marvin Williams had his freshman season here at Carolina and the Tar Heels went on to the 2005 National Championship? That is hard to believe. But Marvin, of course, left Chapel Hill after that 1 year, although he still remains the only one-and-done player who returned to get his college degree. While he was doing that, he was also playing at a high level in the NBA. But Marvin has decided to hang up the sneakers, retiring after 15 years in the league. Adam and I had a chance to talk to Marvin Williams about why now was the right time for retirement, life in the NBA bubble over these past few months, and more. Let's get to part 1 of our conversation with Marvin Williams.
What I am about to say does not seem possible. We're about to talk to the newly retired Marvin Williams.
Didn't Marvin Williams just get to Carolina the other day?
I just saw him dunk on Florida State in Tallahassee like 2 weeks ago. So I know there's no way he's played 15 years in the NBA and he's now retired. But Marvin, thanks so much for giving us some time. How's retired life?
It's been good so far. I don't think it's set in yet, honestly. Usually when the season is first over, that first week or two, guys are just trying to really decompress, trying to slow everything down, I guess, spend as much time with your family and stuff. So I kind of still feel like I'm in kind of that area right now. But I think once basketball starts up again, it'll start to hit me that I'm not actually going back.
Marvin, why was now the right time for you to say goodbye to the game professionally, at least?
Honestly, I think it's more so about off the court for me than on the court. I feel like my personal life is just so different now. I have 2 young daughters now, a family. One of them, which is 5 years old, she has a hard time when it's time for me to go on the road. She doesn't quite understand if I'm going to be gone for 2 nights or 2 weeks. And that kind of hurt me to have to continue to leave her like that each and every day. So I just felt like at this point in my life, actual living is more important than playing basketball. So I just felt like it was time.
That's the perspective I would expect from Marvin
absolutely.
Williams. This was an eventful year to make your 15th and final year. What were the last maybe 2 or 3 months of this season like for you?
Oh, man. Honestly, to take you guys back to February probably when I ended up leaving Charlotte to go to Milwaukee, it's been an interesting ride. You get to Milwaukee, you move your entire family up there, and then, a week and a half later, the All-Star break happens. So you go on vacation. I come back from vacation. A week later, COVID happens. So we're in Milwaukee for maybe like an extra month trying to figure out if the season is going to resume or not. I'm training in this basement of a house that we just rented, finally get out of a hotel. And then after the season kind of looked like it was going to slip away a little bit, it was really cold in Milwaukee, and I really missed Charlotte. So we actually packed up our family, and we drove 13 hours. We drove home. So I got back home, stayed there for maybe like 5 or 6 weeks, and I left after Memorial Day. Went back to Milwaukee to start training and got ready for the bubble, and then I was in the bubble for the last couple of months. So, man, it's been really interesting for myself, obviously, for my family, my friends, something that I've never experienced before, but I'm thankful to say that it's a new experience for me.
What is bubble life like?
Do you want the truth, or do you want what you guys are seeing on social media?
No, we do. We definitely want the truth.
No. The NBA did a fantastic job, man. They did a great job. Them and the Players Association really putting something together to, get the season finished. When it looked like everything was honestly over, and I know a lot of guys thought it was done. They pulled the bubble out of their hat, which was unbelievable. It was very boring. I'll be honest and say it was boring. It was difficult to be away from your family. It was difficult to not really have an escape from basketball. It sounds cool to kind of eat, sleep, and breathe basketball because it's kind of what we do. But I think as a professional athlete, you need something to escape that for your mental. But when you weren't practicing or weren't playing games, someone else was. So you were either seeing other teams walking around the hotel or you're just watching games all day long. And that's all you did for 2 months. So it was difficult at times. It was very challenging at times. But again, hats off to the NBA and the
Carolina Insider is presented by Wells Fargo.
Time to close the show with our social drive, where we take a look around social media and find relevant things to Tar Heel athletics. And part of the social drive this week is a visit from Jordan Dunlap and the AFCA National Championship Trophy. Jordan travels around with that trophy, which is awarded to the winner of the coaches poll at the end of the year. That and more coming up as we close the show with the social drive. Adam, this starts with something that's just really cool, some drone footage that was taken over the campus here in Chapel Hill a couple of days ago. And anytime you can see some good drone footage, that's a win.
Do you think we'll ever reach the point that drones just aren't cool anymore?
No.
That when you see the drone footage, you'll be like, I've seen that all before. We're definitely not there yet. And especially anytime you can drone into a sports venue, that just feels cooler because you never get to see it from that perspective, and this no exception.
John Parker Bach kind of buzzing the bell tower there. He worked with Bradley Moore here in Chapel Hill, part of Go Heels Productions, to make all of that happen. There's a ton more footage than just that, so keep your eyes out. You should see some cool drone footage in different pieces over the next several weeks. All right, let's change gears to basketball. Adam, one of our favorites here on the show is senior Garrison Brooks, and Garrison was highlighted on social media earlier this week with some of his outside shooting ability. Let's take a look here. So Garrison is set up on the left wing, and this is a pretty good percentage for the big fella.
Stretching out that range for Garrison Brooks. You know, the big guys always love it when there's any actual proof of them making outside jumpers. And here it is as he goes 9 of 10 from three-point range. Don't know that he's going to spend a ton of time out there, but Jones, we know Carolina's got more post depth this year than they've had in years past. Garrison's impressed with himself, as he should be. So maybe he'll get a chance to stretch it out a little more. Little prediction for you. Keep your eye on GoHeels.com and the Carolina Insider in the next month or so. You're going to see a lot of basketball content coming up, and the UNC basketball social media channels. A lot of stuff coming your way.
Last thing, Adam, before we go. It was big news last week in Chapel Hill as the AFCA National Championship Trophy was in town. It made its way. Look, it was in Keenan. It went to the Old Well. They were hoping to be here for the game against Charlotte. Of course, we know what happened there. But the trophy made its way here to Pod World headquarters Video Edition studios. I had the chance to catch up with Jordan Dunlap, who travels with the trophy and the trophy itself, and had a quick conversation with Jordan. Let's check it out. Jordan, first of all, thanks for being here. Secondly, what is this thing?
So this is the AFCA Coaches Trophy presented by Amway, and it's awarded to the #1 team in the Amway Coaches Poll, or national champion, at the conclusion of each football season.
Do you just want to go and give this to the Tar Heels, Jordan? Is that why it is here today? No, Jordan travels with the trophy. How does the schedule get set? Where do you guys decide that this Butte's going to go every week?
Right, so we typically try to pick the biggest matchups each week. This week we were here to give a nod to Coach Mack Brown. You know, he's won one of these before over at Texas, and so he's been a great supporter of the AFCA for years.
How much does this thing weigh, Jordan? How much? I can't imagine this is easy to move around.
No, not at all. So when it's completely set up, it weighs actually a total of 45 pounds. So a lot to haul from place to place each week. The Waterford Crystal football on top, though, weighs about 8 pounds in total and costs around $30,000.
I kind of want to just grab it, but I'm guessing you don't want me to just grab the football.
No, we don't encourage people to do that. No.
Understood. So I imagine, do you have like a fun story or two? I have to imagine sometimes this gets a little tricky to be moving around the country with this bad boy.
Absolutely. So one thing that just comes to mind was when we were in Baton Rouge in January, when we were there for the national championship celebration. We were going around doing local media news hits to some local news stations. And the team had decided to go to the White House a couple days before the championship celebration. And some people noticed, hey, wait a second, there's one at the White House right now, and there's one with y'all here. So, oops, surprise, there were two. And obviously one was the LSU's trophy that they were going to keep after that, because a new one is actually made each season.
Oh, cool.
And the school gets to keep permanent possession of that.
But this is the only one that matters because it is here with us today. Jordan, thanks so much for being here. Thanks for bringing this to us. And I know the Tar Heels hope that we see you and this trophy in the very near future.
Of course. Yes, we've loved being here. Thanks for having us.
Carolina Insider is presented by Wells Fargo, official sponsor of Carolina Athletics. And brought to you by Coca-Cola. When you're stocking up for game day, be sure to grab a Coke with a friend. Together, tastes better. Carolina Insider is produced by Go Heels Productions for Tar Heel Sports Properties, a property of Learfield IMG College.